Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Secrets of the Viz. Today I have a friend of mine, Jennifer, who is here to talk about her Viz entry. If you watched How I Met Your Mother, it's a long-standing sitcom that probably didn't end at a fairly good rating, but Jennifer's Viz is very interesting because it is portrayed in the narrative fashion of Ted himself. So when I was going through the Viz, it was really engaging. And I had a little sneak peek at your process during the
Yeah,
feedback session. So
yeah,
I'm happy to see that you made it the top 10.
yeah. I feel like when I talked to you, it was nearly a blank page. Like I have all these ideas. So yeah,
it
that
was
was
it
that was
was a
fun.
mix of a lot of good ideas, and it looks so different from what I've seen in the feedback call. So
Thank
over
you.
to you, Jennifer, to do a short intro about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Dawes. I've been in part of the Tableau community, I don't know, I think 8 years, but been more active in the last several years. Really love the community, learned so much, feel so inspired every day. I participated in the Iron Viz. I think this may have been my 5th year, not consecutively, but off and on over those years. Just named for 2025 as a Tableau visionary. Still feels really weird to say that, but very excited. And happy to talk about this because it was a lot of fun to create.
Congrats
Yeah.
again for making Visionary Class. You've been doing so much great work for the community, so it's really nice that all of the great folks are being added to the Visionary Class this year.
Yes, and you as well. Very
Thank you.
exciting.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the inspiration behind the Viz, because with a theme like entertainment, there's so many different shows that you have could have possibly went with. Is How I Met Your Mother your favorite sitcom of all time, or was there a reason why you chose this show?
I would say it's definitely my top five, but I am someone that's guilty of recency. Me and my husband had just finished watching it from start to finish again, maybe like our eighth time watching it. And so when we started thinking about Iron Viz and entertainment, I instantly was struck by the opportunity to examine the story. Just because if you've watched this show, it's a story about a group of friends and the one main character, Ted, and his pursuit to find his wife. And he was such a romantic person and he had this vision of what he wanted, and you kind of go on the journey with him and his friends. I think the part that stuck out to me is I just instantly thought of all these different timelines, what it would have been if he ended up with this person or that person, and my head started going wild with all these different smaller stories within the show. It's not the direction I took for the Viz, but where I initially started.
Sounds good. I think the other sitcoms that I really like was Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
I think that probably holds a very special place in my heart because, like, we kind of grow with these characters, even with Friends and
Yeah.
Seinfeld and all these different sitcoms. It's very relatable because you see your community and your circle of friends being represented in the show itself, and it makes it really resonating with you.
Course. I feel like you can't help but watch a show, especially with 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons, and relate to any one of the characters or any one of the episodes or storylines. Like, I love Office, Parks and Recs, Community. If I haven't done a viz on some of those, they're probably coming at some point. But yeah, to me, the depth of the characters' story and the why behind who they are, which is I find fascinating. Yeah.
Recently, I've been hooked on the Brooklyn 99, and I've been
We started
binge
watching
watching it.
this.
Yeah, it's really funny. I started watching probably like a couple of years back, and I didn't stick with it. But I rewatched season one, and now I'm like in season four.
I think we watched 4 or 5 episodes, and then I think we got sidetracked onto another show. But yeah, it's funny how you can watch an episode or two and not be too sure about something, and then come back to it later in a different point in time and just be totally in awe of it.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So maybe we can start off with a wireframe of how you actually got to designing the different elements of the Viz.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to blow your mind with my mess. So enjoy it. You're about to see behind the scenes of my brain.
But
That could
that's
work.
perfectly fine because that's the whole premise of this podcast as well, to show the messy process behind great
Yeah.
vistas on Tableau Public. I don't sketch anything. I put a mishmash of like images that I find off the web on a Figma mood board, but that's about it.
Yeah. Anybody that's used Miro before or some sort of whiteboard I find it really helpful, especially on projects that I get stuck on, to just throw all the vomit out there, right? You need a place to drop all of the ideas. And it's kind of you've seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, and all the things just start to come together in synchrony and the story emerges and makes sense. I think that's just being a visual person for me. When I worked for Analytic Vision, Jade Corley taught me, it changed my life. But I have used PowerPoint for wireframing, just little tidbits to throw out there. Something I did different with this project was I developed a close bond with ChatGPT, and me and would talk often about what am I going to do with this idea. Originally, I thought about it as it was always going to be from Ted. Like I wanted it to be a dating app. And how does Ted line up to Robin? How does he, like, personality traits? How could I pull data from this? But it became a data nightmare because I would have had to fabricate most of that. And in the user experience, I just really couldn't pull it together. So one of the things I tend to do is go out, do a Google search on images of a TV show or a brand, right? And I throw them all into some kind of a board so that I can get a sense of the aesthetic. One thing that kind of jumped out was yellow's a big color. I knew that. Yellow and purple kind of were the contrasting colors to represent Robin and his future wife. And then some of the things that I put in here were my chats with me, ChatGPT. And so I was trying to think about various different analysis I could do. Well, I could do sentiment analysis. This is, again, word vomit of all of the different ideas. And this may have been around the time when I was doing the feedback session, and I was just completely lost. I can't honestly even remember what I had in Tableau, if anything. I remember being just a bit confused because I hadn't yet figured out a one cohesive story that I was going to run with. I think it was at one point I was looking on Pinterest and Behance, and I found this visual for Grey's Anatomy. When you were looking at the different characters, the episodes, they were in a bunch of different ratings on their relationship. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is closer to what I'm trying to get at. I'm really just trying to understand their friendship and Ted's story. All of this to say, like, I don't have a pure wireframe, but for my process, it took me putting it all down in one location and taking a step back before I was really able to understand what the story was that I wanted to tell. But it was shortly after that I got the inspiration that this is Ted telling the story. This is Ted saying, let me tell my kids the story of how I met your mother.
No, but I think you're perfectly right on that, because you need that glue for your narrative structure. And for you, you found Ted to be that centerpiece. And after you had decided that everything just falls into place.
Yeah. From there, then it became kind of fun because then I was thinking about the dialogue, right? If it's Ted narrating the viz, how would I open this? What would be the middle? What would be the end? If you've watched the show, it's a big disappointment at the end. He finally meets his wife. They get married. They have kids, obviously, because he's talking to them. Then she passes away. They're like, what? So I decided I didn't like that. And I used ChatGPT again. And I was like, what if we wrote a 10th season? What would that look like? Then I started reading fan reviews, and they were so angry at the writers. And so then it was, okay, I can play with this and let's come up with a 10th season. And so for me, this project was different because I just had fun with it. When I get into a project like this and I'm able to just do it for me and have less worry about the outcome, it usually is a better result than if I'm stressing, oh, the rules, or oh, my font or whatnot. Like, yes, there is guidelines for the Iron Viz, but you still have to find something that inspires you, that gets you really excited.
I was going to ask about that twist ending that you added in, like whether it was something that the writers wrote and didn't went through, and you said that you actually fed ChatGPT the episode synopsis and it sped up the ideal season 10 for you.
Yes, I kind of had the overall narrative. I knew in the end I wanted Ted to be still with his wife, because you go all 9 seasons just to meet her, and you don't meet her until I think 8th or 9th, and then that's it. The entire series is devoted to the story of this woman that you see for only a few episodes. So in my mind, the whole last season should have been about their relationship. That's the dialogue I fed to ChatGPT. It was just a back and forth play with what I knew and I could learn from the data of the first 9 seasons. Yeah. And then wrote out the dialogue for the 10th season and then each individual episode, which I kind of want to see them do this. Now I want the 10th season.
But I think this is a very innovative way of using AI. I love how you use AI for this. And I think we are in the heat of AI revolution. And this is probably one of the better use of AI I've seen in recent days.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely fun. And I think AI is like garbage in, garbage out with most things, right? In terms of data. I had solid data, 9 seasons, 20 episodes or more per season. I had solid fan feedback on how they felt about the ending. So I think it's what are you feeding it influences ultimately the result of what you're going to get. I tried to keep it simple with just those pieces.
You know what? You should actually wrap this up and send it over to the writers. Maybe they'll consider doing like a fan special.
I thought about that. I was like, how do we make this happen? And so I'm not big on Reddit. So if anybody has ideas on how to send something like this in a joking way to nudge them, I thought that would be a fun idea. So I posted this out there. Like, what do you guys think? And I've already done the work for them, right? So
You never know. Sometimes it just takes a spark.
right? We need to write some fan mails and let them know it needs to happen. It could even be a reunion season. That would be kind of fun.
That would be kind of fun. Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I think that's the hardest part about any show that you might like. It's you fall in love with the characters, the show ends, whether you like the ending or not, and then you move on thinking, I feel like there's more to the story though. We need more.
Brings back a lot of memories for me because I love Game of Thrones and the ending was so bad.
Yeah.
The last season was so bad.
Yeah.
So I probably should
write it. Yeah.
Yeah, we probably can feed ChatGPT the same thing and get them to redo the last season for us. So what would you say is the most challenging part in this Viz? Like, was it the data? Was it like a specific chart type or something else?
Yeah, I honestly think it was my story. Most of the time, if I decide I'm going to do something for Tableau Public, I feel I've been lucky enough that I'll instantly have an idea or nothing. It's like feast or famine for me. And I'll have a week where I have hundreds of ideas and I'm trying to find time to fit some of them in or just take a break. But when it's Iron Viz, I think the hardest point is how do I line up my idea within that 4-week window? And I want to believe we were halfway through the timeline during the feedback session. That's why I was like, there is no way I'm going to get this done because I still didn't have a story. And I was fully prepared to walk away. I think the only reason I was pushing is I knew ultimately it would be a fun Viz because it's a show I like. So even if I don't finish it in time, I'll finish it a few weeks later, not do Iron Viz, and still have a project I really love.
So is there any ideas or any other Vizes that you're currently working on?
I have a couple of projects. I feel like the season that I'm in right now, it's been a lot about the kids. There's been some funny little topics that came up with the difference of opinions and how do I have a fun play with that? I think beyond Tableau Public, definitely thinking of the herd data site, I'm slowly trying to go through a rebuild. So that'll probably be on the 2025 horizon. It's something that me and Danushki created almost 5 years ago and trying to make sure that it's functioning as we want it to going forward. So lots to come in 2025.
Right. So it's been really fun chatting about your IMViz entry, Jennifer. I think there's so much nuggets of information around the Viz, like the iterations that you go through, the struggles that you had defining the narrative, and how you have ingeniously used AI to forecast a new and perfect ending for How I Met Your Mother.
Why not?
Yeah, it's very inspiring. So I'm gonna try to do that for Game of Thrones. Maybe
I am looking
We'll
forward to
see.
seeing the Game of Thrones alternative ending. Holding you to that one.
Yeah, I'm accountable now since I said
Yep.
it out loud.
Yep. It's done.
All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see everyone in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
I always joke with my boss that because I went to Tableau conference, I have a network of folks that I can reach out and just ask them a question if I get stuck with. And that's something that you can't get anywhere else.
Oh gosh, 100% agree. And honestly, I've worked at several different organizations where analysts were engaged with the Tableau community and then where they aren't engaged. In the current organization, we don't have as many people engaged, and it's hard to express to someone the gains beyond just like a network until they've experienced it. Just the other day, we were having an issue. I was able to reach out on Slack and then instantly had the answer. And I was like, there it is. Like, it's to your point. It's that 24/7 helpline that once you have those friendships and relationships, I feel like my work environment isn't just the people I work with every day, but it's the Tableau community that I get to work with. Even though we're not considered necessarily coworkers, we're here supporting each other. And building into that is invaluable to individuals and organizations. How do you sell them on that though, without them firsthand seeing what that means?